our baseline that we kind of always make our decisions off of is how do we get more loans, right? How do we get more units? Because if we have more units, our loan officers are making more money. Our operational staff is making more money, right?
Everybody's
it's
happy.
the fuel
Win-win.
for the company,
Yep.
right? So that is how we kind of make our decisions, is what's going to support one more loan.
Welcome back to Good Better Broker as we bring in Taylor Coulton and Jeff Summy. They are with Federal First Lending based in Scottsdale, Arizona. Jeff, Taylor, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So a bit about you guys. You came over from retail and then opened up your company in 2022. Year to date, you've done over $120 million in volume, and you are looking to scale the company to over 200 plus LOs nationwide. Not only that, you guys have known each other since you were kids. You've known each other since the 6th grade. So Taylor, tell me, what's it like running a business with one of your childhood friends?
I mean, it's a lot like how you would imagine it is. Like, I mean, there's days where we're in sync and everything's going great, and then there's days I'll get home from work, I tell my wife I want to put Jeff through a desk. So we fight like brothers, but like on the flip side of that too, it's like what I tell people is if you're going into business with somebody, like whatever it is, you need to be able to rest assured that your partner, when you're not in the room, has the best interests of both of you, not just yourself. So, I know that to be factual. So it's great.
Jeff, you were telling me when we were talking before the interview that if the two of you have a disagreement, one of you is usually wrong. Where does that come from? Is that just years of knowing each other?
So I think the relationship of knowing each other for pretty much our entire lives, as Taylor was saying, that baseline helps, right? Like I go to sleep very well at night knowing I know my partner maybe better than he knows himself, and he says the same thing about me, right?
Yeah.
So there's always going to be disagreements. That's any partnership. I think it's unrealistic to think that you won't have those. It's very healthy for him and I to have disagreements because we've learned how to communicate with one another. So I know his communication style and he knows mine. So that has played a huge role in our ability to make decisions for the company where, again, usually one of us is right and the one that's wrong, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour, we'll circle back. But if it's truly, like a come to blow moment, we're very good about using our resources. So if it's something that we're truly not aligned with, we call the expert in whatever category that is, and then we bring their feedback in, and then we have an outside party that ultimately, shares their thoughts on whatever that decision is, and then we make the decision together from there. We're like, oh yeah, that's kind of what you were saying, so we'll go in that direction, right? So it's very healthy for us to do that, and I think that's allowed us to kind of continue to build brick by brick the foundation that we have and take the company, where we've brought it.
Yeah, it's important. We try not to focus on who's right, but doing the right thing, like making sure we're aligned and doing what's best for everybody.
And it's interesting too because you guys coming over from retail and now being partners in this business. We were talking a bit off camera before the interview. This is a tough industry, and not everybody can handle the stress that comes with it and all the decisions that have to be made, and not just running a company but trying to scale a business at the same time. Jeff, you were saying that the seasonality of the mortgage business and the emotions that come with that, something that not everybody can handle. How do you think you and Taylor complement each other in that way?
That's a really good question. Back to the kind of original topic of it helps to be doing it with your best friend, right? I think that sales is a very difficult job, right? Again, it's a roller coaster. So I think the only thing that anyone can really ask for is to be doing it with people that you like, right? There's no point in making money. This is my personal belief. there's no point in making money if you're not making it with the people that you care about, you know? And that has always been important to him and I, where if I'm having a bad day, he's having a great day. I'm like,
Not always.
shoot, I got to get on the phone and I got to make a call and I got to find business, right? Or if he's frustrated, he knows he can come to me and I'll talk him off the ledge, right? And vice versa. And it's just very, very helpful to have someone that always has your back, right? No matter what, is not afraid of confrontation, hence the disagreements, right? Where neither one of us are afraid to confront the other, which again makes for a very healthy dynamic where we continue to push through, especially when it's difficult. I mean, the last 3 years have been really tough, you know, as far as the rates are concerned and coming from, you know, your pandemic levels. So that transition is difficult, but we try to have fun. We try to keep it light. Yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for a much better work environment. That's how we handle it, you know.
Taylor, how do you describe the dynamic of being, you know, partners with somebody in this setup, you know, in the mortgage broker world? Because, you know, you guys did make a big move coming from retail.
Yeah.
So how do you think it's worked out to this point, not just being in the wholesale channel, but also having that partnership with Jeff?
It's divide and conquer is like the best way to put it. So like, you know, we have our guys will come ask me a question. I said, that's a Jeff question. I'm not even going to try to answer that. There's just things he's good at, and there's things that I'm good at, and vice versa. There's things that I'm horrible at. There's things that he's not so good at, right? So like, it's just, I think one advantage that we have is just we both know who we are, right? And you know, I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I don't think he does either, right? I think a lot of people struggle with that. So I think it's given us a leg up in the sense where like we just kind of both stay in our lane to an extent. We'll help each other out if things get, if it's necessary. But that's like, I couldn't imagine doing this by myself. It'd be a lot of work, and at a handful of things or a lot of things that I'm not too good at.
And a lot of stress, too.
A lot of stress, yes. With a partner, without partner, there's stress.
You know, I think it's funny that you guys talked about, you know, some of the, you know, the disagreements, and sometimes, you know, you can get after it with each other. Especially since, Jeff, you were telling me that you guys launched this business in 2022 from Taylor's apartment.
Yeah.
What was that situation like?
We did. Well, him and I are all or nothing guys, right? If we're going to do something, we're going to go all in. So, I mean, we made some pivots within our personal lives. You know, we knew where the market was. We put our homes on Airbnb, took the cash flow from that. We moved into apartments, and we launched. And we said we're going to keep it small, and we're going to grow organically, which we've done. You know, I mean, kind of a garage band company, I guess, you know, starting out where
there were 5 fold-up desks in a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
My wife probably thought I was nuts.
Yeah.
I just met her at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, honey, guess what I'm going to do?
I'm going to start a mortgage company. Yeah. So that's how it started, yeah. It was, I think, how many of us were there? Like 4?
Yeah, there was 4.
Yeah, we had like an old lead list. Yeah. We were just calling off an Excel spreadsheet in a 3-bedroom apartment. That's how it started.
It's amazing. Yeah. And now look where you guys are growing. And on the subject of that, you guys don't have a recruiter. You know, it's the two of you. And Taylor, you know, when you and I were first talking, this was a huge point of emphasis from you, especially about the recruiting aspect. So tell me about those efforts and what it's been like, you know, as you try to scale the company.
Since we started, like, we've switched shifts on this a couple different times, and it's like just learning along the way. But we thought it was important to just try and get some bodies in, and we quickly learned that that's really not the best way to do it, in our personal opinion. So it's all been like organic, word of mouth. You know, we have people vouch for, hey, my friend would be good over here, or whatever the case may be, and then we'll kind of entertain a conversation from there. But growing to us is important, but we want to grow with the right people, because we've hired some bad people along the way. We've hired some great people along the way, and the bad people can really suck the energy out of something that you have going. So that's what it's been thus far.
And you said, Jeff, that you guys are looking to grow at an appropriate pace. What does that mean to you, or what does that look like?
Similar to what Taylor said, right? Like, I think sometimes people, confuse movement with progress, right? We're very clear on who is a right candidate for our model, for our company. So we choose quality over quantity 10 out of 10 times, It takes a lot of company resources, time, energy from both of us to onboard someone, and we want to make sure that whoever is coming in is going to be around long term, right? So we have a couple questions, that we ask, and we feel it's an appropriate fit, then we proceed and we want to bring them on. But if not, then there's plenty of mortgage companies out there, right? So just because we're not a good fit for someone doesn't mean that, they're not a better fit somewhere else. So it's kind of how we view and gauge, our talent pool, right? It's back to the original, topic of like, what makes a great company? It's the culture. So if you don't have someone that's a good cultural fit, they have to deal with us just as much as we have to deal with them, right? So if that's not aligned, then, maybe somewhere else.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on that, like I probably take it a little more personally than I should of like somebody being successful. Like if you're onboarding, I want you to be successful. Not only because we spend a lot of time and resources on you, and obviously it's good for the company, but I truly want you to come and make as much money as you can and crush whatever goals you have for yourself. So it takes like a certain type of person to do that right now, especially in this market.
Yeah, you were telling me when we spoke before the interview that I think in your very first conversation with a potential recruit, you tell them straight up, I can't want it more than you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is that your message?
Because it's, especially with market conditions, like kind of like Jeff had said earlier, we've both been doing this for close to a decade now. You see people come and go, they get in and out, especially right now. Like if you're not willing to put in the work, it's hard to be successful across the board, no matter where you are, right? So being newer, like when we first opened, I would find myself caring more about someone's success than they did. I think that just by nature, that's who I am a little bit. So I've kind of had to like tone that back, and I'm very upfront before we onboard someone. Like, this is not going to be easy. You're going to have to put in the work. But if you do put in the work, we know that the system we have works, and you'll be successful.
He was telling me, Taylor was telling me that, with a new recruit, somebody that you guys bring in, part of his onboarding process is he will literally have them park themselves right next to him, and they just basically ask any question they want. It gives them the opportunity to really be a sponge. From your perspective, Jeff, seeing that and seeing how invested Taylor is in helping these LOs that you bring in be successful, what's that like?
Well, it's very rewarding, right? I mean, back to, his message of caring. I mean, we both care about anyone who works with us or for us. We care about their success. It's very personal to us. It is a point of pride where, again, we're looking to elevate individuals' income, right? Help them achieve financial goals that maybe weren't a part of the plan at their previous company, right? So that is very rewarding for us to be able to watch that, or have people come and say, hey, I just put this pool at my house, and I paid for it, and, that's where we're going to make memories with my wife and kids, right? So that feels very good for us to be able to provide a model that allows individuals to accomplish those goals. And it all starts like kind of on the front line, right? And so that's what that is to me. I mean, watching someone absorb that and learn and asking the questions and coming from a, possibly a company where they didn't have the ability to offer products that we can now offer. And, we're doing a lot of those loans, and I mean, when him and I first started, it was very stimulating for us because we'd been doing this for a long time, and we're learning about products that we didn't even know existed. We're like, oh my gosh, like we can do that? Like that's crazy, So I think that learning curve, right, when you embrace it, it just becomes something that's really powerful where, you kind of take it and run with it, and then it allows you to kind of expand your business from there.
Taylor, what are you doing with recruits in terms of showing them, how you guys are different? Because obviously you've come from different models, and you're big on, basically showing them what the carrot is in terms of their earnings potential. Describe for me what that process is like.
Yeah, so the background that we come from is like direct to consumer call center where you're pretty much fielding phone calls all day. So like, I think I've said this a couple times. You don't know what you don't know, right? And looking back on, my only regret is with doing this is like I didn't do it sooner with what I know now, right? It's fully transparent. Like, what the margin is, what you're selling, right? What the loan pays you. There's a small investment up front, but you can do the same thing you're doing at somewhere. I won't say any of the names, but like, one of these call centers they have you in, we're taking the same leads. We're doing the same thing, same campaigns, and making 3 to 4x like per funded unit, which like with the seasonality thing too, it makes it a lot easier when you can do 4 or 5 units. You're okay, like on our comp structure. Whereas like in these other ones, you have to fund 10, 15, 20 units to get a decent paycheck. So kind of circling back to like what makes it like the seasonality, getting through that definitely helps a lot too.
I always like to ask, our guests when we have partners come in, who we're running a business together, and we've kind of gone over some of this, and I think people can tell already that you guys have different personality types, which yin and yang is great, right?
No, not us.
Yeah. But in terms of the way you run the business, and I think one of you said divide and conquer. Jeff, give me the breakdown of how that works. What you're responsible for, primarily, and then what Taylor handles.
Well, it's operations and sales, right? Just as generic of an answer as you can provide, but it's truly needed, right?
I do the fun stuff.
Yeah. It's very true, but he's a master in his class at that, right? And he loves walking around the sales floor and hooting and hollering and getting people riled up and talking deals and figuring out different loan level scenarios and well you could do this, right? Or have you checked this out, right? So he's very, very good at that. And not that I'm not, but again, it's back to we know who we are, and there's things that he's better at than I am, and vice versa. So I tend to look at systems and logistics and operationally, right? Like if this guy's going to go on a complete tear and, start coaching our sales staff up and they're going to bring in more units, the question that I have to ask myself is, okay, how are we going to handle the capacity of those units, right? And you asked earlier, like, how do we handle, disagreements? Well, our baseline that we kind of always make our decisions off of is how do we get more loans, right? How do we get more units? Because if we have more units, our loan officers are making more money. Our operational staff is making more money, right?
Everybody's happy.
It's the fuel
Win-win.
for the company, yeah. Right? So that is how we kind of make our decisions, is what's going to support one more loan, right? And what helps us is being loan officers, right, at heart, starting, from the bottom, ultimately, with knowing nothing. Our backgrounds are very different. Starting in the call center model, I think we're very connected to the consumer and the loan officer desk. And I think that that's a massive strength of ours because it allows us to make decisions kind of on a global view to where it benefits everyone, right? So at the end of the day, I mean, he might make decisions on his own, what's best for sales. I might make decisions where I'm like, hey, man, I'm working on this project. He's like, okay, cool. Like, don't even tell me about it. Just tell me when I need to know, right? Yeah. So again, it's back to that level of trust where he's great at what he does and I'm great at what we do, and we divide and conquer. And it allows us to move forward in the way in which we have. And it's been a huge blessing, and you can't ask for more than that, to have a business with your best friend and someone that's a master at what they do. It's very rare. It's very rare. I wouldn't want to have done it with anyone else.
It's very well said, the way you just articulated it, especially just, boiling it down to what's going to help us get more loans. At the end of the day, that's what we're in it for. Yeah. Another thing, though, that I want to ask you about, Taylor, is how that helps with being owners and you have employees. They know, as you were telling me, exactly who to go to, whether it's you or Jeff, depending on the situation. How does that help you as a company be more efficient?
Well, I think we lead from the front. Like, we're in the trenches with them every day. And I take a lot of pride in that, because, like, the decisions that are being made are by people that know exactly what they're dealing with, It's not from some, like, C-suite level that's very disconnected with what's actually happening. So I think it's pretty apparent to everybody who does what and what the role is within the company. So they kind of pick it up because we're there. Like, I'm actively sitting on the floor with them every day. Jeff is a door away. Like, they're in and out of his office all day. They're tapping me on the shoulder. I think after just sitting in the office for a week and a half, you have a pretty good idea. And I mean, we give them a heads up too. Like, hey, anything deal related, let me know. Anything not deal related, let him know.
I got you. Yeah. To kind of wrap things up here, we talked about how you guys have, known each other forever, running the business together. Just so people know that this is not something that just always comes easily to you. Jeff, you were telling me you guys have done coaching together to help better your relationship, probably both from a business standpoint and from a personal one.
Yeah. Well, I think, you ask people.
Taylor's laughing, by the way, before you even start talking.
Well, it's one of those things where a lot of people will tell you, don't go in business with your friends. Don't go in business with your family, right? I mean, you hear that all the time, and, not that we're by any means exempt from that. Again, it's like, it's one of those things where it is beyond stressful. It is the hardest thing we've ever done. I mean, the positions that we were in prior, we were both VPs of sales at the company that we were at previously. Back to him saying, we think we're very connected. There was a massive disconnect between the leadership and the heart of the engine at our last company. And we said, we think we can do it better, right? So that's kind of how we make our decisions, and it allows us to stay connected because it's one of those things where it's very important to us, because we've seen the opposite side of it, where when you lose that connection, it can be very costly for a company.
It can be deadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the coaching, I mean, we sought a PhD in psychology who was a lieutenant in the military, so we learned a lot about the hierarchy of military leadership, communication styles, again, how to divide and conquer, play into each other's strengths, and learn how to ultimately communicate with one another with our personalities, right? So I know exactly, if I need him to hear me, I know exactly what to say. Or like, if there's going to be a disagreement, generally our like catchphrase is, you're probably not going to like this, but
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's kind of our leading statement. And then we're like, kind of softens the walls, and we're like, all right, just give it to me. Right.
Yeah.
Like, what are we working with? And then from there, it, allows for a conversation, and then ultimately it leads to a pretty quick decision, because it's never me versus him, and there isn't a lot of ego in who's right, who's wrong. Like, we don't even hold on to that. It's how do we get more loans, right? And that's a very objective statement or question to ask. So there isn't a lot of room for emotion within it. And, again, it's very healthy to have disagreements. I mean, I think that's what makes a company successful, is you don't want to be surrounded by people that always agree.
Yeah.
You have to disagree, because that's where growth is stimulated. That's where it's cultivated, right? If you always agree, it becomes, one, very boring, and two, it can very deadly, like what Taylor said. So I think that gives us an edge,
Yeah.
It's very cool to see just the way you guys have built this company, and you're doing it together, and you're also still very much in growth mode, and it feels like that's not just from a company perspective, but you're also both growing as business partners as well. So we really appreciate you sharing your story with us, and we wish you nothing but continued success. Taylor, Coulton, and Jeff Summy, thanks for being here.
Thanks you for having us.
Thank you for watching Good Better Broker and helping us support independent mortgage brokers everywhere. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.